Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you 3 races back to back on screen that I traded earlier in the week on Betfair's exchange in the evening. I'm doing it for a specific reason. On recent uploads on this YouTube channel, one last week and one previously the week before, there's been a lot of similar questions around the same topics, so I'm going to answer 3 of those main questions on screen with an explainer and a bit more information. The first one was, can you explain what you mean by the money is pouring on here and how I can actually visualize that in the screen? Talking about the traded volume bars. Some of you didn't quite understand what I was saying in the moment there, so we'll show you another example there. How to turn a loss into a profit or save a losing position. Very common question, one I'll take head on in this video. And finally, some of you have quite rightly said that in the Australian markets and the USA markets of an evening recently when you've been trading them, you notice they don't move a lot. So how do you approach that? What do you do? I'll show you an answer to all 3 of those questions in this video on screen. Okay, so first example, showing you how money pours on into the markets, or how you can notice money pouring on into the markets. We've got the 9:45 here, Will Rogers Downs, 4.5 minutes to the start. All seems a little bit bland on the surface, but the first thing to note before anything even happens in this market is there's 2 quite short price favourites. Now when you've got short price favourites, they can move a little bit more. Obviously a small movement is expressed in a large amount of ticks on screen. When there's 2 short price favourites, they often work against each other and they can provide a bit more movement than if there's just one short price favourite on its own in the markets. So on screen you can see Dial 'em In is the favourite. We've got Taylor, which is the second favourite. At this point in time, it's impossible to know exactly, but looking at the Betfair charts at the bottom there, it looks like most recently the money has come for Dial 'em In. There's been some money matched on Taylor too, although there's less of a trend kind of going in any one direction on that one. But bring up the live video there just to check the minutes to post. You can see this race is actually going to go off a little bit later than the countdown to the start timer. But I'm watching those traded volume bars at the very top of the ladder. The ones where they're sort of span, I think that the chart settings on that is 15 seconds. So it's very short term and it highlights for you very easily when a large spike is matched. Now, one of the other sub questions we had around this was, how do you know if it's back money or lay money coming into the markets? Well, whenever there's a match, it's money on both sides of the book. You can't necessarily tell if it was somebody dropping in a big back bet or lay bet, other than when you visually see on the ladder the movement in conjunction with a large spike on the traded volume bar. So you can see that a few larger chunks than previous have gone in there on the favourite, and you can see that it's going one direction, it's coming in. So the money's pouring in on the backside in this instance. Pouring might be a bit strong to say at this point in time. I've opened up a small position there, in fact slightly larger than some of the other videos on the USA horse racing. But you can see I've caught the beginning there, I've seen the spike sort of come in, I've seen that already that it was slightly favourable, that it was being backed. But all those dark green bars also on the side of the ladder denote the most recent money. Now I've got my settings to about 30 seconds, so the dark green bars are the money that's come in the last 30 seconds. So you can see in a short space of time, a lot of money's come in and it's gone in one direction, and it's just a case of gauging if that's going to then continue. Now at this point in time, I think I actually wasted a little bit of profit in this clip. But I'm allowing the market to swing in my favour, something that people struggle with sometimes because it means you have to sit on your hands a little bit, let the market move in the direction you want it to. A lot easier said than done. Now I'm looking at the alternate runners to see if there's any pressure pushing back against it in the other direction right now. So is there money coming in on the second favourite, the third, the fourth? They're all had some money matched. But it's not quite the same as what you see on the favourite, where, you know, I said previously pouring was the term I used, pouring on. It's basically going on in one direction. So there is a bias for back money in the market over lay money at this point in time. It's just a question of, and I don't actually know for certain myself, I'm just playing the probabilities. I'm playing in the direction that it appears it's more likely to go. And that's all trading is really. It's not a case of I know for certain it's definitely going to go in one direction all the time. Sometimes it becomes more obvious than others, but it's more a case of just playing the percentage chance. It's more likely to contract, considering that nearly all the money that's come in on this runner in the last sort of 2 minutes has all been back money, and it's moved the price in from around about 3 to 2.8. So, I mean, it could bounce back if something else pushes it out elsewhere in the market, but you think about it in logical terms, the horse has been backed to one degree or another. it's not suddenly going to then go a wild drift, or it's very unlikely unless it's a very volatile market and there's something else to make it happen like that. The interest of the horse doesn't die within the space of 30 seconds, excluding situations where maybe it breaks loose or jumps through the barriers on the side or throws the jockey off or whatever. So anyway, back on screen there, profit, I think, was it 7 quid, 8 quid or something at the moment. I think actually I struggle to get out, which is, quite honestly, guys, this is the problem that you have with some of these lower liquidity markets. Can't wait till UK racing comes back. Looks like it should be later this week, next week. But, we're looking for £5.63. No great shakes, but I think they're highlighting the 1 minute down to post there just to say that, there's no point in actually risking this any more than we need to, because we know that the delays in the live streaming sometimes. But we'll go on to the next race. Fauna Park, a little way off from the start at the moment, 15 minutes. So I'll pause the recording and we'll come back to it when we've got a little bit more of an active trading window to look at. For the next question, which is how to turn a loss into a profit. Okay, so we're back again at Fauna Park and it's 6.40 down to post right now. You can see that there's already been a bit of crazy movement, and this isn't normal. This doesn't happen in every market, and that's why this is one where maybe I got it a little bit wrong and made a loss, and then we turn a loss into a profit, which is the question that a lot of you have been asking about. So at this point in time, what's going on? What's there to say about this market? Well, the favourites drifted as a result of the second being backed in. You can see the dark green bars, as we mentioned in the previous clip. And I've got two things on my mind. First of all is this going to be a sustained gamble where money consistently comes in? It's not really a position where I want to get heavily involved early on. Or is it a case of somebody's just put their money down a bit early, maybe some VIPs, maybe it's genuine money, but we don't know. There could still be back money for the favourite at this point in time because it's a little bit too early. And is it a case everything's going to revert back? So that's the main concerns on my mind at this point in time. I'm not particularly interested in runners 3 and 4. They don't really hold anything to get excited about, or there's no obvious activity there to get excited about. But on screen, probably a little bit too keen to get involved here, which is a common mistake, and I've done it myself. But the second favourite, the money is still on the backside. I mean, you see the little jerk in the market there, pushing back, highlighting the traded volume bars at the top. But this isn't going a wild drift, which kind of indicates usually that there is more back money. And again, that little signal there seems to confirm that there is more back money for this. So it could be a sustained gamble. I'm not getting involved right now. I think that maybe it's more likely that we'll get a little nip in on Retrofit, which was the favourite previously, bouncing back as the market forms a little bit more. But I'm feeling quite indecisive, if I'm honest. And maybe I shouldn't be doing so much right now. The second favourite, or the new favourite, sorry, Spa Shakalaka, has bounced back out. As I said, it could. But I'm just kind of playing the percentages again on very low stakes. And dare I say it, this is almost boredom trading in a way, because I wanted something to trade and I was just killing some time in the evening, if I'm honest, for this recording. But the interesting thing is that the move doesn't really happen, and so I'm like, right, okay, Spa Shakalaka's bounced back out. We've seen there was genuine money for it before, so I suspect that there is more genuine money to come. I'm seeing some more genuine money drop into the market and see them dark green bars again. So I've probably made around about the right call in this point in time, and I'm thinking, right, I need to now close out on Retrofit because it's going to go in the opposite direction. I've got a little bit overzealous maybe with the stakes there and not got matched. Frustrating. I'm trying to offer in the market. Sometimes you need to take a price. It's always better practice to offer, but if you're making the right calls and you offer money in the market and it doesn't get matched, technically you're doing the right thing because the market is moving away from you. So it's something to bear in mind also, rather than feeling like you missed out a lot of the time, because we all know about FOMO, or the fear of missing out. It can really screw you up. Now it bounces back and I'm like, oh, I've made a bit of a mistake here. I don't want to have too big a loss, so I just lock it out for £1.40, which is not a big mistake. But I'm kind of on the fence right now. Even watching this back, I can see how this happened, because I am on the fence and I'm suspecting that it could be a sustained gamble, but it just really hasn't got going on Spa Shakalaka. The fourth has had a little bit more activity in one direction, but there's still only 4,100 matched on that, so that's not a huge amount. So I'll lay up a few lay positions in the market there nice and early. And, how do I turn this loss, I think actually it's a bigger loss, how do I turn this loss into a profit? Well, I stick by my guns and I say, you know, the interest in this runner has obviously not died completely. How far can it really drift? Can it go to 3? Can it go beyond 3? I don't think it can go beyond 3 unless there's some drastic activity in the market with other runners being backed heavily. Now, I don't want to double up because that's a bad approach to be taking. You know, every time you make a mistake, several ticks back and then back it again and back it again until you average out your position. That's terrible advice. Usually you just end up with a bigger loss when you do that. But, you know, again, I'm like, oh, it's not, you know, it's not come to fruition. This is at the bottom of its range. It's been backed previously. It's technically a little bit vulnerable in the market in terms of others if they're backed, which, as I keep banging on about, this is, by the way, this has got nothing to do with form. This is all to do with activity, money in the market, volumes pushing against each other, and all the information you ever need to trade a race is usually in the market. You can pick up other things outside the market which will help you, but all the money you need is all the information you need is inside the market. So turning a loss into a profit. Now I'm like, all right, if that one's going back out and that one's been overbacked previously, we're now going to back the favourite because that has been struggling to drift any further than 4. We've seen it go up there several times. It's tested that point, which is usually a resistance point within the market, and it's come back down again and again. So I'm looking for the return on the favourite, which starts to come there as we reach that genuine window of activity, you know, inside the last minute and a half, and get on for a couple more ticks while it bounces back, and we're now back into the profit. I think, was it 4 quid, 8 quid, something like that we get out of this. Start filtering money back out, because obviously we're coming down to the start again. This is the most frustrating thing with US and Aussie racing, because all the money comes late and then the feeds are a little bit delayed. Sometimes the feeds don't work from Betfair live video and whatnot. So you're stuck in a position where you want to do all your trading activity late, but then you are exposed if you're not careful with the live streaming information. But we have turned the loss into a profit there. So technically we were like £3.50 down. I think we end £8 up, so you could look at it as £11.45 profit. I don't think that's the way to look at things. People, I think, look at things far too short term and decide that it's either a winner or a loser, or a winning market or a losing market. None of it really matters. All it is lots of different trades. As long as you're taking the right percentage call over a longer period of time, you come out on top. There is no, we'll jump onto the next race now. Sorry, I'll pause it again to bring us down to closer to the start. But undoing a loss is a bit of a daft thing to even think about in a way. I don't want to insult anyone, but it's like saying that you want to undo a car crash. I've said that several times in different places in the past. You can't undo it, you can only prevent it or carry on doing the right thing afterwards, and it should bring you out on top. And if it doesn't bring you out on top in that market, don't worry about it, because if you do the right thing, it'll bring you out on top over the longer term. You want to take that longer term view even though you're doing some shorter term trading. Finally, trading markets that don't particularly do anything. So this is the third and final recording. So we've got the next race, which was at Real Rogers Downs, 2.5 minutes to the start. Obviously we've still got a little bit of activity going on in the background on the previous race, I suspect, even though we can't be sure of the start time, which may be taking attention away from this race. It's something worth mentioning too. But when a market doesn't really move and doesn't pick up, and I'm looking at the total traded volume, there's 58,000 matched on this market, and it's taken an eternity to get up to 59 and then again up to 60 shortly. When there's not that much money passing through the market, there's not a lot you can do. And unlike I did maybe a little bit before, there was some early activity which sort of enticed me into that market. What you should really do is do nothing, okay? I know it's boring advice, I know it's not what people want to hear, because people want to have a bet, want to have a winner and all that jazz, but limit your downside, control your risk, stop mistakes that don't need to happen before they happen, and you'll leave yourself out on top as a net winner. I'm not going to kid you, we can speed up the recording rather than me just waffling on throughout it, but I end up looking at this and doing nothing. I think maybe I open and scratch a position once. We'll speed it up and slow it down in a second, but if there's nothing to trade, don't trade anything. Or if there's a very small amount to trade, don't bother. Don't overexpose yourself for the sake of risk, for the sake of having a go. There's no point, there's no profit in it. You just don't want to lose. So that was the 3 questions that have popped up a lot recently on the YouTube channel, answered in one. If you've got any more of your own questions, please submit in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video. It helps us out on the channel, make sure the videos actually get viewed by people, otherwise YouTube don't push them. And we'll see you next time, next week's upload.